Welcome back. Episode 101 of The Grouch and the Brainstorm. I'm Mike, and I'm here today with Jill. Say hi, Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
Hello.
And this is me. And this is a very first for us, but we're doing a better job of doing a video podcast. So hopefully our listeners can enjoy it. We got this idea from basically we had a lot of views on our last deal. So on episode 100. And so I've got it set to where it just goes between us. But, you know, we can get all that changed later to where whenever we're talking, you know, it kind of pans to us. But right now it's just going to go from one to the next. So,
Okay.
And I think that's pretty cool. And let's hope I get home and actually have a recording. So a lot of preparation went into this thing today. You know, if our normal is preparation like A, you know, like this was like preparation H, like totally, totally, yeah.
All right then.
Yeah, this was like completely just hardcore, man. I bought and sold and all these kind of things to get this thing set up. So anyway, we're going to do this just like we normally did on our audio podcast. And by the way, thanks for all the listens on episode 100. It made our lives a whole lot specialer, having all the people that reached out with the congratulatory thises and that's and all these other things. So we do appreciate it. And so with that being said, we're going to start the way we always have. So Jill, what have you been up to?
Hi. Well, work.
You sound better.
I feel a lot better. It's the first time I've had like enough energy to clean 50% of my house.
Yeah.
And so I feel good about that because I've just been kind of watching it. And I'm like, I really need to mop. I need to dust. I need to do like that gritty cleaning. And so I've been doing that all day. I'm feeling better, but there's still some effects going on. Still, I got a majority of all my tests and scans and ultrasounds and everything's negative. That's good. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure what it is, but hopefully it will pass.
So I did have one other thing I was going to ask Jill about.
What's
Something
up?
happened yesterday. What was yesterday?
No.
Oh.
No. Was that your birthday was yesterday?
Yes, it was yesterday, and you were here,
Jill,
Mike Walston.
Jill, I don't have an applaud button yet on this new machine, so I can't. Oh, I do have an announcement button, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's see how this works right quick.
Is that Biggie?
Yes.
It's got to be.
Well, for copyright reasons, that is not big.
That's medium me.
that is overly largy. So yeah, we got a 15 years, Jill.
I got 15 years yesterday.
15 years.
I know. I was like, what does Matt have? I almost called you Mike again.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I mean, it's another year, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm proud of myself.
You should be.
It's
You
just-
should be.
It is so odd because, like, I just don't.
Does it feel like 15 years, or do you feel?
It seems less
Like
than
you're this
15
learned,
years, and
sobriety
it
person.
seems like it was just yesterday I walked into treatment.
Yeah.
It feels like yesterday the first time I had a drink. I mean, it's odd. All these years passed, and I'm delighted. I love my life. I love the way it is. I love that I don't feel the need to ever use. There's nothing that I'm like, you know what sounds like a great idea? You know what's going to solve this problem? A drink.
Yeah.
Or whatever it may be. I just don't have desire, and I have it in I'm talking probably since the beginning.
The desire,
It just went away.
I just talked about this with some sponsees a while ago before we came here. I was talking to some guys, and I was like, you're gonna get to a point where your first reaction to something is not a drink or a drug, and that's a good place to get to. And you'll get there, but at first mine wasn't, because that's how I dealt with it. But I was like you. I was like, it's so far down the list now. It's always there in the background. There's something lurking around, but there's so many other things that I have to go through now before I get to the drink part would be a good idea.
Well, and I like coping skills, and I like to
Yeah.
use them and utilize them, for what they're for. And, I just know that I'm screwing myself if I don't. And I can't go back to that kind of nonsense. I practice what I preach. I teach coping skills all day long, and I know that they work. So why would I have a reason to use? I mean, because that's basically what it was. It was me self-medicating. So, I'm picking up my chip Monday, and
Tomorrow.
damn, that is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. You're getting your chip tomorrow. Jill.
I am getting it tomorrow. So, yeah, I thank God.
Amen,
Sure.
sister.
That's
Absolutely.
a milestone.
Yeah, it is.
Well, what have you been up to, man?
I just been happy for Jill having 15 years, man. That's what I've been doing. I think I was more excited than her. I called her yesterday. I was like, "Happy birthday!" She's like, "Oh, okay,"
Aw.
So yeah, I love birthdays, man, and you guys, you are two of those people that I look up to in sobriety because y'all kind of have been down the road a little bit, and so there's parts of y'all that I see in myself in your struggles with certain things, and I go, yeah, I had a little piece of that. And so, like, I think we all have that. If you're gonna make it in this thing, you kind of have to find your people to go, oh, what would this person do in that situation, or how would they handle this? And like, you two are a part of that circle for me. So it tickles me when I see y'all have birthdays and stuff. But the thing about both of y'all too, and I already told Jill this the other day on the phone, but I'll tell it again. Y'all, where I have succeeded in here is that I come in and I've heard real stuff, and people go, I struggle. I'm 8 years sober, but I'm struggling because I get whatever it might be, pissed off all the time, or I have an anger or whatever problem it might be, and they're still working on that and trying to figure it out. And I'm like, those people I can deal with. Like, that's real life, and I can hook onto that and see where that goes. And so to sit in here for a few years and see you guys grow, it just kind of pulls me along, and y'all are doing that for other people too, if you don't know that. But that's what's been cool to me to see,
And a lot of times you gotta weed through some of the, I don't know, the BS.
Yeah.
There's a little grandiosity when you first get into the rooms, and you go sit down with a new guy, and he'll tell you about how he used to be, a whale fisherman, and he would catch 3 whales a day, or I don't know if you catch them, or but you have to dig in. Seriously, dude.
No,
I've
I
never
get
had
it.
personally did, but I have had a lot of, and you got to get through all that,
Yeah,
and
the BS.
then the funny thing about that is I had a buddy, and I'll say funny, it ain't funny, but one of my old sponsees, Adam from Mandeville, Louisiana, that cat called me. God, it was one morning at probably, I don't know, 6. Or he texted me, are you awake? And I was actually up running a video on how to do all this equipment. And we talked, I want to say over an hour, just catching up. But I remember Adam's very first day in AA, and he was talking about a situation that's going on in his life, and how other people react to that same situation as opposed to how he reacts to that situation with all these years of AA under his belt. And I mean, the guy's got probably 4 or 5 years now, and of course that was just something that was never going to happen, just way off in the future, and now here it is, and he's using it. And I just heard all this really good stuff, and we had some really good memories back down in the Mandeville area. So, good to hear from him, and good to hear that. But I remember when he got there, and I remember the stories, but you look way past all that, and you see this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about the pink cloud the other day, and I know that there's people that come in. I know some of them, and they hit this thing, and it's like everything is beautiful and all the colors of life, and it's like Bob Ross or something, and
They're on fire, man.
I didn't experience that, I didn't experience that. And so for me, I see people, to me, what's real is when I see it in my own life, but I see you guys work through stuff, and I go, okay, well then that's what we do here. We keep keep stepping up to the plate and swinging the bat. So,
I appreciate it, Matt. Those are some really kind words.
yep.
Keep
Well,
swinging that bat.
that's right. Not at
Keep
me or Mike, though.
Batter up.
Keep swinging. She carries a big stick, man.
Yeah, well,
She
hey,
carries a big stick.
I'm about to beat you with it.
Don't threaten me with a good
we've,
time.
we've
We are talking about today. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, right? There is fun in recovery, and I forgot. I thought Jill's birthday was tomorrow, right?
Right.
But did you have something you wanted to talk about today, Matt?
man,
Anything in
how
particular?
good life is today.
Well, okay. Well, I wanted to talk about. When I first got here, I used to hear about how if everybody that needed a program, we're going to say a program because we don't represent anything but the three of us, right?
Right.
But if everybody that needed it would show up, you could fill up 3 or 4 stadiums full of people.
Yeah,
Not everybody. Yeah, everybody. But if you had everybody that wanted it, you can barely fill a room at 5:30 in the afternoon or 8 o'clock at night, or
Makes sense. Yeah.
I guess there's a difference between need and want, and that's what I really want to talk about today. When you got here, Jill, did you know if you wanted it? You probably knew you needed it.
Yeah.
So that little verse, what was on your noggin when you got here?
I knew I needed it.
Yeah.
I wasn't on board with wanting it yet. And that didn't come till quite a bit later. And I'm talking after a year. And maybe, I would say it was like peppered throughout that time, but it just still, I had this little piece of me that was still convinced I didn't have to do this for the rest of my life, and that this wouldn't be my life, and that just that. And so, I don't know when it was when I finally just 100% surrendered and was just like, this is it. But yeah, it's weird because coming into the program, we don't really know what our needs are. We're our diluted thinking, and what we think we need is absurd. Because to me, what I really needed was a sports car, and more money, and a family. Just like those were not what I needed at the moment, and I don't need them anymore. My needs are literally like shelter.
You wanted your own family. You didn't want somebody to
I didn't want to adopt a family.
I need a family to take care of my animals on the farm.
No. But you see what I'm saying? And so a lot of those were like delusional thinking. I thought I needed like 6 figures to live comfortably.
Yeah.
And I don't make that, but it's also not even on my mind right now. None of that is, because I have everything that I need. And so I was able to switch my focus to that, and also be grateful for the things that I have, instead of having delusional thinking that it gets me back into the cognitive distortion of what I think I should have. And that's going to get me in a lot of trouble. And I think a lot of people think they have it figured out when they come into the rooms of wherever to treatment or, AA, NA, whatever, about what they need. And I think it's ego driven and part of self-will. And I think part of the spiritual program that I'm a part of teaches me the opposite. And I have learned how to distinguish the difference between them, because it was all once.
Yeah.
It was all once I wanted back then.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I had everything that I needed because I didn't have what I wanted. And I think that's a problem with a lot of us. And, it's just weird to think all those things I thought I had to have, I don't have any of them.
Isn't it weird how we do a substance and we're like, if I could quit doing this, and then you realize you have to blow up your entire way of thinking, your whole life. You've looked at these things like, Yeah, like if I'm gonna be, living in a mansion with a sports car, and I'm gonna do this and that and the other, and then that stuff becomes so. You realize what a futile, like that's pointless stuff. Like
It
you're
is.
just sitting-
Futile.
Futile. Yes, thank you, Mike. By the way, we have somebody on live that is from Derby in the UK.
Hey.
Hey, her name is Mandy Jane, and she said, I'm 2 years sober and have had 3 relapses, but I'm more certain now than I've ever been that alcohol will never help me solve anything. And she said she loves the American accent. So I don't even have an American accent. I don't know what mine is, but
Mississippi.
It's definitely not an American.
deep in the wherever mosquitoes are, that's where this came from.
Hey,
So,
congratulations on 2 years. I think that's really awesome. Keep on rocking it.
Yeah, I mean hey, you're here, you're sober,
and when you get to that point of
2 years is amazing.
Yeah, when you get to
Absolutely.
that point of this isn't working anymore, no matter what, it's not helping, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
That's a great place to be. So
And to go back to what I was saying again about needs and wants, what I knew I did need was drugs and alcohol.
Amen.
Because that
sister.
is what kept me alive and kept me going. It kept my panic attacks away, kept me from being depressed. And that's the whole delusion of it all, because that was the problem. That was creating the anxiety, the panic attacks, the depression, the not being successful.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't do the things I needed to do without them. And even with them, I wasn't able to do the things I wanted to do.
And that goes back to we realize we're the problem. At the end of the day, it's not the dang drugs and alcohol. It's Matthew, and like, so most of my background family are Irish, and they always have that saying, they invented whiskey to keep the Irish from taking over the world, but
It
that
worked.
works. Yeah, well, it did. But, but on the same token, I can take the whiskey away and I still got to blow everything up and start over again.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's about the, changing your thoughts
sure.
and our ways of thinking that we used to have, or else we're going to be in the same boat.
And gratitude and have the gratitude to look at that stuff and go, I was sitting there this morning early and I was sitting there reading my little stuff on my phone, and I was like, man, things are pretty good. There's hectic life happening every daggum day, but the big stuff is covered.
Yeah.
And the rest of it it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is that, I have everything that I need now. I have wants, but I don't desire them or base my happiness on whether I receive them or not. And I think that the way I used to think, how I needed all these ridiculous things, kept me in that self-pity, the anger and all of that, because I wasn't receiving them. If I could just have this, I'll be okay. If I can just have this, I'll be okay. And even if I did get all those things, I would still be in the same boat. It had nothing to do with what I had.
Mm-hmm.
And can I interject just a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter what, if the behaviors that we have right this minute keep us from getting whatever it is we want, right? Those behaviors, if they don't change, you don't have a chance of getting whatever that is you want either. And I guess my example would be is if Matt over here goes out to the desert to catch bass, he probably is not going to. And he can be as stubborn as he wants and go, hey, I'm going to keep going to that desert until I catch a bass. And, and we'll see.
Insanity.
Insanity, yeah, insanity. My sponsor would tell you that I could be in Lake Fork and not catch any bass. So
Well,
that would be his.
That's probably true too.
But yeah. I mean, we have to learn to stop the insanity of just, hey, I'm gonna keep doing this my way, and step back and let go of some stuff. And man, it does wonders when you can do that.
Also, what I've learned, if I'm not grateful for the things that I have, I'm not going to receive anything. And it's not about necessarily that. It isn't at all. I used to not be grateful for anything because I didn't have what I wanted. Now that I have everything I need and I'm incredibly grateful for it, things that I want pop up more often. And I'm grateful for those too. I mean, there's just, at that point in my life, there was no gratitude for anything.
So I was talking to the two guys this morning. They're at a sober living house, and we were sitting talking. And typical sober living story: don't have a job, don't have a car, don't have
Yeah.
vehicles. But they were sitting there talking, and one goes, "But you know what, dude? It's great, man. Wendy's is right next door, and the bus runs 2 blocks from here, and you can get a job anywhere in this city, and the bus runs right by here, and it's free." And I was listening to them talk, and I'm like, I told him, I said, this is the fun part, and y'all don't even realize it yet. But like the getting yourself back together and like riding the bus and doing all those steps early on to a little bit of humility and accepting that, hey, I made this mess, and you go through that process and grateful about it, you're going to be, that's a good deal,
Yeah.
So
I needed all of that, all those
Sure.
lessons in early recovery about gratitude, humility, and I needed that. I didn't want it.
Have y'all seen where people are burying their pets in old military uniforms?
What?
Yeah. Yeah, apparently so.
Wait,
That,
in whose?
apparently in the future, archaeologists will dig up like an animal with a,
like a
sergeant
general,
slaughter or whatever.
full bird colonel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
When did they start doing that? Recently?
well, I know. I just kind of ran across a story. I'm hoping it's not real, but
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I don't have any pets, and if I did, I mean, it'd be pretty cool. But what kind of pet are you gonna fit? I mean, what kind of little tiny uniform are
Do
you
you
gonna put
have
on a
one like
Chihuahua?
special made for them? That's stupid. Sorry.
If you're one of our listeners, it's not stupid. Though.
Yes.
Just
It is strange.
keep
though,
listening
and
to
we'd
the
like
show. Maybe you'll change your mind about
Let
that
us know,
idea.
please, if you do that. I'd like to ask questions.
Sergeant Matt L.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
That's weird. So yeah, my brother says you just drop them off in Highland. That's what he says. But,
Well,
That's wrong.
I'm not gonna say which brother.
For me, it is to be, I knew I needed it for years, right? I mean, years. It took a severe beatdown for me to want it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I think if you read in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's going to describe those characteristics of the person who comes, gets it, sticks, and stays. And in all of that, there's a little bit of desperation. The gift of desperation made me want it, right?
You're right.
And
I mean,
that-
you're right on with that. That's what I meant.
And in some things and in some instances in life, I mean, I agree, we get desperate for certain things and we do certain things. People get desperate for that next fix and do things another human being would ever do to get that next fix, right? For me, it was kind of like that. I mean, it was just the consequence got so bad, I had to go and, do something.
Yeah. And that, it just kind of like jogged my memory. I mean, I think that when I got sober and I was so frustrated and miserable in sobriety, that frustration and pain and desperation is when it really, really kicked in, because I knew I can't use, but I can't live like this.
Can't use and you can't not use
Exactly.
and live the way you live. I get it.
Well, I was just an emotional wreck and I didn't know what to do with all of it. And so decided to get healthy and get help and do everything I could to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, need versus want, man. What do you think about it, bro?
I didn't. I kind of was like Jill. I wanted to be able to live without using and drinking, but I also didn't want to go sit in a room with a bunch of drunks and
No.
like do meetings every day and all that stuff. And I was like, there was just somewhere along the way, it was like, and I think it was just desperation of going, I can't go back and do that. What do I do? And I'm so grateful for the solid people in Alcoholics Anonymous all along the way in Mississippi here. People I run into, I just ran into a dude at a gas station, and that's what we ended up talking about. And we know a mutual friend program thing. And like, I'm just grateful to have all that around me, because it just kind of went, hey, if you're going to do all right, you're going to have to do what these people do. And it got me in there long enough to where I could identify with what was going on. And I heard people say things and I went, okay, how did they deal with that? How did this go? And once I was kind of hooked in a little bit to it, I was telling Brad, we're about to have him on our show pretty soon, hopefully, on another episode. He's been on before. We were talking on the phone on the way over here, and I said, yeah, my whole deal was like, I can always just go back and kill myself. I was like, I could always do that. But I was doing that anyway before I came in here. So
Well, that sounds like everybody's backup plan.
yeah, I mean, that was that. But what a screwed up way of thinking. Like, I don't think I want to go sit in these rooms. I think I'll just kill, that was the way I was thinking back then. And like something along the way, thank God, stuck,
Yeah.
and I just kept hanging around a little bit, and I would go, I'll give this another week.
Yeah.
I'll give it another week and then another couple of days, and then it just turned into a little more. And then I started looking up as my progression through the steps started.
Mm-hmm.
The little bit every day got better.
Absolutely.
And so it
Yeah.
coincided with that. And finally one day I was like, this isn't horrible, so yeah. And I mean, and now I do, that is the way that I want to live. But it needs also, I mean, like there's things that I have to do that's part of taking my medicine is doing my sponsor, doing my steps, doing meetings. I have to maintain that stuff in some kind of way, work with another alcoholic in some kind of way. I have to do those things, and it keeps me where I'm supposed to be. And when I back away from that stuff, it gets squirrely quick. And I ain't had a drink or a drug in almost 7 years. So who's the problem? Old Matthew, he is the problem. So I'll take what I have today, and I'm very grateful to have that. And to go into a place, man, and it's free. Like you go anywhere in the world, it's just free. You just
Yeah.
walk in. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to have a
And if
ID.
you do go in and it costs money, you're probably in the wrong
Yeah,
spot.
you're probably at a crooked place or something. But I mean, you don't even have to have an ID.
So,
You don't
I
have
thought
to have
I
nothing.
was in a AA meeting, but this lady in a bikini kept taking my dollars.
Where's all this glitter and
I felt like it was free.
Yeah.
Everybody told me it was free, and they were serving drinks the whole time.
But yeah, that just kind of, it was like, I guess I never thought, I didn't give it too much pre-thought going to treatment. I just thought, man, they'll get me stopped and then I'm on my own and I'm going to be fighting this thing. And it couldn't have been the opposite of that when I gave it a chance and I tried to do what people suggested I do,
Well, I think that's a grand idea, man. I do. I think that and I don't like to use the terminology I think, but there is a spot there where if you want it, you grasp our culture a little bit better if you want it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like if you want it, you come in and kind of learn it. And I guess the only way I could compare it is if you want to learn how to play football, you're going to go out there and you're going to start trying to learn everything about football. Sure. But if your dad wants you to play football and you need to play football to take care of your dad, you're probably not going to be as
Put the effort in.
There you go. Wow, man, Matt he's turned into a scholar.
Oh, I don't know if Matt and scholar have ever been used in the same sentence, but But I think sometimes too, and this may sound funny, but just ignorance of things. Like I look back at coming into sobriety, I was so ignorant of alcoholics. I didn't know nothing. Like I didn't go to a bunch of rehabs. I just went, here's where I went. Day one, here's an AA big book. I'm like, what the hell is that? Here you go. That was it. And then we started with that. And I went, oh, okay. Like this is a thing, like people do this, and,
I was kind of in the same boat, even though I'd
ignorance is
been to a
bliss.
couple
Yeah,
meetings before. But
it was just like, okay, so I go over here to meetings. That's what I do. And I guess the simplicity of it, like, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do, like my counselor was like, when you leave the door of the treatment center, you go straight to an AA meeting. Don't go nowhere else,
Yeah, they told me the same thing.
And I drove 12 hours or some crap, 10 hours here because I had a job interview that Monday morning, and that's where I went to Koala Club. When I got to here, that was the first thing I did, and just because they told me to do it. And so sometimes I've learned in this program I'm not the smartest one in the room. And so
Mm-hmm.
I take, I'm not near the smartest one in the room, but I take suggestions from people, like going back to what Jill, we were talking about her birthday, and you and Mike both. I see what y'all have achieved. So I can identify with that quick. When I see, if I'm learning how to play football and I go sit by Ray Lewis, I'm going to listen to everything he says. That guy's in the Hall of Fame.
He
He's
played for the
forgot-
Ravens.
Ravens.
That's what I thought.
You know, he's got more football knowledge forgot than I'll ever know. But if I want to learn about football, I'm not going to go ask my mama. She ain't never played. She wouldn't know a first down. Why would I go do that? So when you've achieved it, I can look at that and go, I want to do whatever they're doing, even if it seems weird. It's a successful, whatever they're doing is successful.
Yeah.
And so the ignorance part of it is just going, maybe I don't know what's going on. It's
Whenever
been
I
good.
watched football, the Ravens weren't even a team.
Oh, sure.
So to hear that one of the members of the Ravens has already made it to the Hall of Fame tells you how old I am.
Yeah, him and Ed Reed both.
That's 40 years ago when I watched 1985.
Okay.
If y'all remember 1985, it was the
Bears.
The Bears.
Jim McMahon.
They had Refrigerator Perry, Jim McMahon, Walter, Sweetness,
Sweetness.
Payton. I mean, what an amazing
I was a Saints
human
fan
being.
as a kid during that time, and the Bears were so cool. And I just remember like the Saints sucked so bad, and I'm just like, why can't I just root for the Bears?
They
But I-
lost one game, and that was to the Miami Dolphins,
Who had a guy named Dan Marino?
who
on the
had
team.
Dan Marino. And the Miami Dolphins up until that time had always been undefeated. So not always, I'm sorry. I mean, they had the only team to ever be undefeated. So to hear, people like Ray Lewis being in the Hall of Fame just
Mm-hmm.
kind of takes me aback. I don't even know how to use that word, aback. I mean, that's the weirdest word to me.
I'm over here like we never watched the NFL in the house.
Oh, I thought you was
kids-
thinking about the word aback.
So I'm over here like I
Help
don't
me
know
out
what the
with
hell
that
y'all are talking about.
sentence.
My son's playing basketball, and he sees Shaq on TNT now, and he's been retired for however many years, and he's funny, and he's this big dude, and he's out of shape because he's retired and he's older now. And I go, you don't understand what a beast that dude was. And I pull up YouTube of Shaq at LSU, and he's like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, you just see a guy up there on TV. You didn't realize this dude his entire career, But I mean, that's kind of what I found in AA of being ignorant of it. Is kind of like you're thrown on this ball team, and you're like, okay, I got to come over here. How do I learn this? And you got to hook in with people.
You just
and go,
follow the leader pretty
That's it.
much.
That's it.
And
Yep.
So,
That's-
it's just odd at first.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
my defiant old self was like,
And it is odd at first. To walk in any room. I mean, just think about it. Like let's just say Matt was going to take a quilting class, right? Where he learns how to quilt. I guess that's what you do in a quilting class. And he walks in a room full of quilters, right? It's just a little odd. It's kind
Yeah,
of
of
like being
course.
the first day of school, the new
Yeah.
kid on the playground. The new bass fisherman in a tournament, I guess, if you've ever done that, Matt. But I mean, it's still going to be odd, right?
oh, for sure.
But if you want it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's like in life, though.
Or if you need it.
The rising tide pulls everybody up. Be in there with folks that are doing it. If I want to be a better fisherman, man, I'm not going. There's some people I ain't going to fish with because they can't fish better. They're worse than me. I don't want to hang out with them. I want to fish with guys that may show me a thing or two. So, but yeah, that's the name of the game, man. It's what Brad and I just discussed. It's a little bit of action and me just keeping my mouth shut and my first instinct to outthink it and be slick. And I don't really have to do that stuff they're talking about. No, I'm gonna just do it. Not like it, who cares? What I care about or like or don't like, I'm gonna do it anyway, and then the results start to show. So,
Well, let me say this though, Matt. So I have seen those guys that show up at a fishing tournament with the $100,000 boat
Sure.
that's got like Power Rangers or whatever written all over it, and $150,000 truck to pull the boat.
Sure.
And they've got all these $300, $500 rods and $1,000 reels, and then you got a guy on the side with a cane pole catching twice as many fish.
absolutely.
I mean, so at some point the luster doesn't necessarily go with the amount of
But
sobriety.
I think in sobriety, when you put it like that, and I like the way you put that, because
Yeah, I
you
did
don't have
put
to
it very well,
You don't have to have $1 million worth of equipment to catch fish and enjoy fishing. You can, and sobriety's the same way. You're not guaranteed that, hey, I'm gonna be on the cover of Bassmaster magazine, or I'm gonna be on the cover of the dang AA Big Book next time they print one. I'm so famous with sobriety.
Great
You
time
know,
they print one.
yeah, that's
To be in
you're
the
not
grapevine.
Yeah,
Your picture in the grapevine.
I've learned stuff from people with all that appearances of boats and trucks and all that, and some of them are really great at fishing, and some of them ain't. They just got a bunch of money and spent a bunch of money on something. They probably should have spent it on something else.
Yeah.
And I've learned stuff from guys sitting on the bank fishing that I still use to this day. Fishing's fishing at the end of the day. And so when you put that into sobriety, we do those basic things. The rest of that outside stuff, it comes or goes, whatever it might be. And some people don't want the $100,000 boat and the truck and the things.
Well, what I've noticed in my sobriety is that throughout this whole time, my wants have changed from materialistic
Yeah.
things to more
Spiritual.
spiritual things. Yeah, for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with, getting something nice or anything like that, but where it all used to be ridiculous, materialistic things, it's not like that necessarily, anymore.
The Lamborghini's just off the table.
It's out.
But you'll settle for a really nice Land Rover or Lexus or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I like the way you've
I
humbled
did.
yourself.
I did want a Maserati.
Do they still make those?
I'm sure.
I thought
I'm
they were a
sure.
type of
but
cheese.
it's ridiculous. My wants now are more simple, and I want peace. I want happiness, and I do everything I can to protect those.
I mean, these chickens are getting pretty big.
Well, I just
Colonel
just
Sanders.
looked over.
Colonel
Hey,
Sanders is going to show up in the
Some
driveway.
scouts
I
out
just
here,
saw 3 of them like dart across the yard.
Yes, that's why it caught my eye. I looked out and there's a coyote chasing a roadrunner
You
and
shut your mouth.
right behind an Acme truck.
But it goes back to quality too with sobriety. And to go back to the fishing analogy, I've fished in bass boats like that with 40 grand worth of electronics on them that you can see the fish's gills moving under the water, right?
Yeah.
And I've sat over here with Jill on her pier, and we caught a crap load of fish and had a good time. It don't matter to me. That stuff is great, but at the end of the day, it's relaxing. It's having fun with the people that I'm around, and I've got a little P-road that the butt leaks on it. The wood's rotted out. I take it to Bistineau all the time and I have to stop about every hour because it's just rotted and it fills up water and dump it. I love fishing out of that thing as much as anything in the world, and I can slide into places and fish, and it's an adventure, man, and that's quality. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters to me.
Well, it's like one of those things where it's also like that saying, if you are in yesterday or in tomorrow,
Got one leg in today and one leg in tomorrow, and you're
pissing all over today.
Yeah,
Let's
I was
just
gonna-
say
I was
it
gonna say it with
anyway.
a little more quality.
Well, and that's what I was doing. I wasn't grateful for the here, the now, and everything in that. I am now.
I still struggle with that.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Fixing to be some odd years sober, and I still struggle with looking at what I got and saying, "Man, this podcast equipment is just a great example."
Yeah.
Like, I have some really good stuff, and I just replaced it all.
And I think that's something that comes and goes, because we're human. I mean, I think about how I want to be in the mountains and I want to go travel and do all these, fun things. I don't have the money to do that, and then it'll get me down occasionally, but it's like, well, it is what it is. And maybe someday that will be part of your life.
I had a we were talking about Mandeville earlier. I had a friend of mine that I went to high school with. His dad passed this week,
Yeah,
and
sorry to hear
very
that,
close with the family growing up. And his dad kind of took me under his wing because my parents had divorced. I was living with my mother down there, and it meant a lot to me. But I talked with Jared, his son, the other day on the phone, and we talked for a little while. And I was thinking about Mr. Terry And like you think of all these things, like we're talking about bass boats and we're talking about quality of stuff. And with everything that he went on, the things that I remembered about the guy were he never met a stranger. If you showed up at his house, you was in. What it didn't matter who you were. And there's a lot of great things that I remember. And I think at the end of the day, you know, when all of it's said and done, that's what matters. People go, how did you treat other people, and how were you? The money comes and goes. That you can't take it with you. You can leave it to somebody, but you ain't taking all that stuff with you.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing wrong with having money, but you I think some of those things have become less important. And as I look at people, as I get older, and I start thinking about, you know, what are they going to say? You know, what did this person, what were they about? And you forget, did they, you know, have a big bass boat, or did they do this or that? And, you know, it was just it was a good reminder with him. And we're going to have Jared's going to have a memorial thing here next month. We're going to have a little deal down there in Mandeville. And, you know, but just to remember the kindness of people when they don't have to be, you know, they don't have to be, they're not gaining anything by somebody coming in and hanging out with them or whatever. And those are the things that I look for in people and try to identify and that I appreciate today, you know.
Well,
So,
a friend of mine, you brought something up, and actually this guy is in Mandeville, and his name is Vic, and he was in a meeting one day, and Vic has a couple years more than me, but he was in a meeting one day, and he was talking about someone asking, what do you do, right? You know, what do you do? And naturally people answer with whatever job they have, you know. And I mean, it has to obviously be something with that as far as the human psyche goes, because last names sometimes come from what they did, you
Yeah,
know.
Lampshire.
Yeah, see, so some guy shired a bunch of lamps. I don't know, or maybe it was he shired a bunch of lambs. But anyway,
the silence of the land.
so his name was anyway, Vic brought up this topic, but the truth is, after you're gone, you know, my grandpa's, he's still alive, by the way, and he may end up out making me, but he's 94 years old, 93, 94 years old, and my little sisters are 45. They may or may not know what he did for a living. They may or not know, have any idea what the guy did, right? Like, so it's important. I mean, I've been doing the same thing for 30-something years, since 1988. So it's important to me, but I don't think I'm going to be remembered like that. You know, I don't know what I'll be remembered by, or if I'll even be remembered, because the truth is, you're not remembered very often or very long, right? Those people who are have a holiday named after them, and those people like you, Jill, get that day off every year. And half the time don't even know why that. And then time will go by and that'll change or whatever, but we put a whole lot of emphasis on what we do. And that was part of the reason I didn't want to get sober. I knew I needed it. I actually wanted it, right? But I didn't know if it would interfere with what I did for a living. And that's how I got my self-worth, was from my employment. This is what I've been doing for X amount of time and blah, 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 right? You know, but there was a point in that where I did have to reach surrender. Take it. Take whatever. I don't care. I just got to be, you know, I got to be happy. And
But you're a good example, man. And I have a brother, very successful business guy. You do very well. You're a great example of that. If it came down to us talking about you, I would never think nothing about your work.
yeah,
It would never. I would never come up. There's a million other things I think about Mike, and work ain't one of them. I just don't. You know what I mean? You have quality with what you do too. You know, and that's what I'm getting at. It's money comes and goes. All those things, they come and go. You know, and that's what I remember is like with Mr. Terry, you know, it just that kindness to people, the willingness to just, and I never remember money being a thing. I never remember, we're all, you know, high school kids, we ain't got no money and we're doing all this wild stuff and having a good time. And it's like, you know, sneaking into bars to listen to bands, and we're underage and we're jamming out, you know, and it was always a big adventure. And, you know, that's the stuff I remember.
I tell you what, in one of my classes, that I teach as far as like psychoeducation, there's a question in there that asks, "What do you need to be happy?"
Hmm.
And this class is for incarcerated men.
Yeah.
And I always challenge everybody, what do you think that is? Because the number one answer is money.
What's number two?
Women,
Yeah.
guaranteed.
And number three. I can't
Well,
believe number
and-
one isn't women.
Well, and this
And
is
then-
this
Probably
is
a coin
where
flip.
I get at that. I was like, do you think that will bring you happiness? And they're like, well, of course. Well, of course. Well, there's a lot of people out there with money that are not happy. I mean, it is. And the thing is, like, that is what a lot of people think they need to be happy and to be at peace.
And it's just not so.
It's not so. And like I said, what I wanted, more than anything, and I remember, like I've said before, crying to my mom as I wanted the panic attacks to go away and I wanted to stop hurting. I wanted everything to stop. And to me, that is way more priceless
Sure.
than anything that I thought I needed at that point in my life. That is what I need now. And that is what I focus on, my peace and my happiness. And it's just period, hands down, because without that, I'm back to broke again. And I'm talking broken emotionally.
And think about, when I think about, and it's just mainly on financially, but things like that too. Your higher power, mine's not going to give me something I'm going to not be able to handle. So,
$1 million, you might not be able
I
to
might
handle
be
it.
rolling in here with a big sombrero on and acting a fool, and who knows?
Matt didn't tell you, but
And-
he snuck into a Hanson concert whenever he was in high school.
I've never been to a Hanson concert. Let me put that out there.
Bop.
Yeah, I remember those guys.
Yeah, I bet you do.
They're about as bad as the Barney song to me. I put those in the same category.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, baby shark.
Yeah, Baby Shark. Oh. but it just I think God, like you said about the panic attacks and the things, I've had to learn to be content and go, this is what I have. I'm grateful for what I have. And if something comes along, that's good. If it doesn't, I'm not looking for it. I don't look for anything to just, I'm waiting on this to happen. No, I'm not waiting on anything. I'm just doing what I know to do right in front of me.
Well, yeah, suit up, show up, and do do the right thing, and all those things they tell us to do. I'm just glad I didn't get what I thought I needed back in the day, because what I really needed was way bigger than that, and that was healing, and that was love, self-love, and all of that. And I would never have said that's what I needed.
You can't really buy some. I would imagine,
Like I said, priceless.
if you think about it, money hasn't been around since the very beginning of time. I
No.
mean, it's been around a long time. Don't get me wrong. Some form of currency exchange has happened, but at some point, everything was free. Everything.
Well, yeah. And well, I
And
mean, what I'm saying is, it's up to us for us to.
And I would imagine that fella that has a lot of money or whatever it is, right? A lot of stuff, money, probably just having to keep up with all that would be something that, some area of life most people don't even understand is stressful.
Yeah.
Having to keep up with just that little bit of think about
Yeah.
it. It's hard to think about it. I know a lot of people would want to figure it out, but truth is there might be a whole nother avenue of problems open up with more money.
Oh, and it will, and it's like that with anything, I believe. I know we've been focusing a lot on money, and I think that's probably one of the number one things that people want, in life. And I think there's a many other things in life that people want, but necessarily don't need. And so it's just learning how to decipher between the two, and be true to yourself. And when I say that, I mean take your ego, your pride, and humble yourself when it comes to that aspect of, is this a want or a need?
I'm with you. I like it. I like that, Jill.
Yeah. Well,
For what it's worth.
yeah.
That's a good song for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and I'm going to say this, and I have talked about this on the podcast. You know, I think majority of my sobriety was focused on, I need to find a husband. I need to have this relationship, and you know, it irritated me, it frustrated me, it pissed me off, it angered me, all the negative emotions. And when I realized, and this has taken a very long, I mean, this took a long time for me to just be like, maybe that's not what I need. And so letting that go has been like life-saving for me. I'm not frustrated anymore, and or angry about the whole deal. I mean, like, it just is what it is, and I have found my peace. You know, where I used to be lonely, I now have solitude. But to think that I wasted so much time worrying and focusing on what I thought I needed is ridiculous. Because it was a lot of tears.
Sure.
Lots of tears. And just, I think that we miss out on life when we start to do those things.
Yeah. The other moments that God's wanting us to pay attention to or enjoy are passing us by because we're looking ahead at, you know.
Well, what may never happen.
Yeah, sure. And, you know, and like I've read some stuff on happiness and joy, and like happiness is an emotion or whatever, but joy is like, I'm excited. Well, what I'm saying, it is too, but what I'm saying is they're two different things. And I think a lot of times we look at happiness like, if Mike threw me $100 over here, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
But if I walk down the truck, 10 minutes later, I'm driving down the road, I'm like, Mike's a good dude. He just threw me 100.
That's joy.
But that's, no.
Sorry.
That's happiness. I'd be happy. Hey, I got $100.
So what's joy?
So joy is getting up and enjoying. I get to do things. That's an
the
all day.
Hanson concert. You don't have to keep denying it.
I won't say enjoy with Hanson, but I did sneak into a Green Day concert in New Orleans with Mr. Terry back in the day.
Okay. Was it the Dookie?
This was before they blew up, like right before, and they were. Yeah, we had a good time, but not Hanson. I listen about everything but Hanson. I mean, I listen to everything. I can't handle that kind of stuff, though.
Hanson reminds me of like the Ricky Nelson.
Why are we still talking about Hanson? Jesus.
I just, you know, my mind kind of wanders.
I don't even know that much about them, except I don't listen to them, you know. So,
well, Bop wasn't their only good song, by the way. I'm gonna find a picture of Hanson. I'm gonna throw it on.
Okay,
this
so
podcast.
I have a question for you guys.
Go ahead, Jill.
What do you need to stay sober? We all know where we are in our sobriety, but what do you need to stay sober? And I want you to name 3 things.
Tag, you're it, Matt.
Hanson? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you got that.
The Backstreet Boys.
Got that.
Okay, no boy bands.
You know, I need my higher power. I need that. I need that relationship there. And all that comes with that prayer and the whole gamut. I need my sponsor. I need a sponsor, but I have had the same sponsor. And I'm just going to say the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm going to include that in one lump thing. I need that. I need that whole, everything that entails. And then I need to be around other folks like me and involved in either them helping me or me helping them. But me helping them is, you know, I've done that today before this, and I just feel so much better. Like just talking with some guys that are early on trying to get going. And I'm just like, I don't know that feeling, how to tell you, but it just, y'all know, I'm sure. But I need that kind of thing in my life to work with other people and to almost be encouraging to them, because it reminds me, hey, don't get complacent or caught up in, oh, poor pitiful me type thing. You could be down there glad you live next door to Wendy's and catching the bus, and
Yeah.
I don't have to do that today. And I'm grateful for that. I got through that stuff. So, but that's probably the three things that I just had to
Okay.
have to stay sober.
I like it. Mike?
I think I need, first off, is a connection to my higher power. I need prayer. I have to have prayer on a regular basis, but it kind of all loops together because I need a routine. I have to have a prayer. I have to have prayer
Okay.
or my higher power first and foremost. Second, I need a routine, which includes alcoholics, other alcoholics. So my routine has to include other alcoholics, which goes to my third need, which is I need a regular reminder that I'm not in charge, that God's in charge, and what my life was like when I was in charge.
Ooh, that's good.
And
yeah.
it was it was. I had a little more time to think about it than that.
Because he tagged me first.
Well, your first answer was Hanson.
And second was Backstreet Boys.
So, but in all truthfulness, though, I have to have, and that's just 3. And there, I guess, but it all kind of bleeds together. And
It really does.
It bleeds together in things that I do every single day. Every single day. When I get pissed off about something, I remember I'm not in charge. I'm not that important. Whenever I get sad about something, I remember this ain't got nothing to do with me. Like this is what it is. I've got to take what I got and I've got to move forward. And, any kind of emotion that can be negative or even positive, right? Because whenever I have good stuff happen to me, even if I want to share it, if I want to help people or whatever it is, I get in my head, I get scatterbrained about all these different, I got to go do this, I got to go do that, I got to go, and my good example real quick, because I know we're getting close to time. We really are. I got all this new podcast equipment, right? And I was so excited about it. And I got it home and I spent hours just learning how to use it and practice on it. And I bought I spent some
YouTube
tonnage.
videos.
And I go over here to Jill's house and I drop off the equipment. And then I come back today and I can't get none of it working, right? Like, period. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, no. So I just went with what the basic thing on the internet said is you don't need the second thing. All you need is the first. And somehow we got this. And as I've sit here, I started, why don't I just listen to the guys on the YouTube video? It makes a whole lot more sense than what I had going that kept me up all night, so.
Oh, Mike.
So, yeah.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned, So maybe something I need to stay sober is less.
Oh.
So how about you, Jill? What do you need to stay sober?
Well,
3 things.
New Kids on the Block.
She's more of a Keith Whitley gal.
No,
y'all are both wrong.
She's into Creed and
You know
Oh,
what?
that's right. Nickelback.
Y'all both eat it.
That's what Ben S says. I'm just relaying the message.
Y'all literally have named not one thing I listen to.
You're probably like drive-by truckers.
I have seen them live.
Okay.
And it was good.
So
it
you're
was real
into
good.
like Stone Temple Pilots and
I
That
like
was my
Stone Temple
favorite
Pilots.
band.
yeah. That's kind of what Jill
She's about that
grunge,
age, though. The grungish kind
like grunge. Like what's the other one that nobody can understand? The guy Eddie Vedder. What's that one?
Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
Pearl
I can't
Jam.
understand.
Pearl Jam. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I love it.
I
That-
love it. I don't know how to understand a word the guy says. So
of. I like Pearl Jam, though.
I do too.
I need my higher power. I really do. I've lived, majority of my life without one, and I know that my life has benefited tremendously from that and everything that is involved in that with faith and just all of it, prayer, all of it. I need the fellowship. I need people. I need social interactions with sober people. I need people in my life. And also to help others.
Yeah.
I need to do that. It's really important to me, and like you guys know, it is my job as well, and I just need that.
Yep.
I need it.
Sure.
Jill, happy 15 tomorrow.
15 daggone
It was
years.
yesterday.
a happy 15 chip
But we
tomorrow.
are eating
Oh.
cake tomorrow.
Thank
If I
you.
can get over this way, I surely will. It is a Monday. It's tough on me.
Yeah, don't worry about it, bud.
So, but I will start like from now on. Is if the viewers, if they're watching, can see multi screens right now. They see
Okay.
all three of us, and I switch between the three, and I'll get better as time goes on, and I'll have better backgrounds than just the walls. But I'll also be able to post some stats on here and show
Okay.
people how that I'll be able to go to a screen that shows a picture of our stats as opposed to us saying them. So, and we still are going to release an audio version when we finish this. The video and audio are being recorded separately, and I'm going to take the audio and I'm going to send it to my daughter, and she's going to edit it and send it back to me, and then do a release of the audio version of this podcast.
Okay. Okay.
So
Can we put a jungle in the background?
I can find it.
Just kidding.
So,
Look out the window. I got chickens behind me. It kind of looks like a jungle out there.
It does.
but for now, guys, we hope you like the video version of what we're doing. We'll continue to try to make it as better and better as time goes on. The most important thing is you get a name with a face and you get a message. Hopefully, you get a message. And
Yep.
and then if someone wants to come on and be a guest, you do not want to be recorded. Don't worry about that. We can cut you out, or we can do another audio podcast because I found out this machine does all that too. So we've been at Rule 62 Studios. We've been in Bossier City, Louisiana, and we are always the Grouch and the Brainstorm.
Wave goodbye, guys.